Anybody that knows me knows I love my boxing. All right, I'm a fan of the sport. Anytime I get an opportunity to promote the sport, I'm going to take advantage of it. And I really, really appreciate when cats show up, particularly for big fights, and show their brilliance. I don't like choke artists. I don't like people who are elite and then the moment arrives and then you can't find them, okay? I like cats that show you who they are. Is Devin Haney scared?
We'll see. We'll see. It'll come to fruition on fight night or when it's time to sign contracts.
Totally agree with you on that. Where's my camera? I totally agree with him on that, and I like that.
And he's a hell of a fighter.
He's a good fighter, but he's not you. He's not
Agreed.
you. Devin Haney's not going to get you paid.
You don't think so?
No. But here's my issue with Devin Haney. Devin Haney, I think, made a huge mistake allowing Ryan Garcia to come into the ring at the weight he wanted. Remember when he bet $500,000 for every pound that Ryan Garcia was overweight? Why would you do that? I'm told that 2, 3, 4 pounds means a lot in boxing.
It do.
All right, so why would you let him do? You were the champion. He wanted your belt. What the hell you do that for? You play right into his hands. So when you lose, even though you ultimately sued him and we found out stuff about Ryan Garcia, whatever, the fact is Devin Haney and his father made the mistake of going into the ring under those conditions.
Stephen A. Smith just called out Devin Haney to his face, and what happened next has the entire boxing world losing their minds. We're talking about a heated confrontation that exposed everything wrong with modern boxing, where champions duck hungry contenders and fans get fed garbage fights instead of the wars they deserve. This isn't just another boxing beef. This is about accountability, legacy, and whether one of boxing's biggest names is protecting his record instead of cementing his greatness.
Doing things different.
Is the fight with you and Devin still a possibility?
It's up to Devin. Devin running. His father told me to stand on my word, and I ain't getting no response after that. They not standing on their word.
Here's what went down. Smith cornered Haney during an interview with Shakur Stevenson, and instead of the usual softball questions, he went straight for the throat. He pressed Haney on why he's refusing to fight Keyshawn Davis, a rising star who's been calling him out for months. And get this, Haney couldn't give a straight answer. He started stumbling, deflecting, talking about other opponents, anything except addressing the elephant in the room. You could see it in his body language. This wasn't a champion confident in his choices. This was someone who got caught avoiding a dangerous fight.
You scared of me because fighters aren't really scared of fighters, but you're ducking me? Like, what is it about?
You don't think fighters are scared of fighters?
In our DM Bill. Yes.
There's some fighters scared of fighters.
Yes. If he say he's willing to do that.
I think we can give Bill.
Yeah, you let us handle that.
Yeah. So
I would be very surprised if y'all do that. Say it again.
I said we're gonna try and lock this date in. Murder gonna talk to you after this, but I'm gonna call Bill tomorrow, and we're gonna see whether, I don't know if he's still on the West Coast or not, but hopefully it can be face to face. But if not, we'll definitely get him on Zoom. But I think he'll show up. And this way it don't have to be no back and forth. He said, she said, we'll both have y'all on the show, and then we can know, he can tell us what was in the DM.
But here's where it gets absolutely wild. Keyshawn Davis has been saying for months that Haney is straight up ducking him, not just avoiding him, but actively running from the fight. Davis claims Haney will call out big names like Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, even Terrence Crawford, but somehow never mentions his name. Think about that for a second. Davis is ranked, he's hungry, he's got the skills to cause serious problems, and he's basically invisible to Haney. That's not coincidence, that's strategy. Davis has been telling anyone who will listen that Haney is protecting his perfect record. And after watching that Stephen A. Smith interview, it's getting harder to argue with him.
Keyshawn Davis goes out and dominates Ortiz, beats him pillar to post, and knocks him out in the 12th round. 11th round body shot put him down, 12th round body shot took him out. I was really impressed with Keyshawn that night. How about you?
Yeah, no, I was impressed because Ortiz was a handful. And I think that's the best I've seen Ortiz fight. We know that he's a championship spoiler, right? If you're not careful with guys like Ortiz, they can win quiet rounds, and next thing you know, you're in trouble in the later part of the rounds. This fight could have turned out that way, but Keyshawn never allowed Ortiz to play the spoiler, and he closed the show. If Keyshawn wouldn't have got that knockout in the end, then I probably would have picked apart that performance a little bit and been like, you know what, man? Keyshawn wasn't at his absolute best. He could have done this. He put it in another gear. It was a big moment, a big stage, but he closed the show, and he never let the spoiler play his.
Now listen to this part, because this is where Davis separates himself from other trash-talking contenders. This dude isn't just running his mouth on social media. He's putting his money where his mouth is. Davis has openly said he'll move up to welterweight just to force this fight to happen. We're talking about a fighter willing to jump weight classes, leave his comfort zone, and chase greatness instead of waiting for opportunities to fall in his lap. On a recent podcast, he straight up vowed he'd go to 147 pounds if that's what it takes to get Haney in the ring. That's not desperation. That's the mindset of someone who believes he can win and wants to prove it on the biggest stage possible.
I'm going to go to 147, and I'm going to become a 147 champion. And then I'm going to defend it against somebody at 147.
Devin Haney? Who at 147? Is it Devin Haney? Yeah. Because that's a pound for pound brother right now. And we asked you, who's a fight that's going to put you on that pound for pound list? Devin Haney's at 147, right? And he got a belt.
Now he is, yeah.
And you say you want 147? I mean, what we doing? What we talking about? Names.
We talking about January 31st. I'm a look great, God willing. And in the future, we going big.
And get this, Davis isn't just talking about facing anyone. He's specifically targeting the top of the sport, aiming straight for champions and big names. Since turning professional after winning Olympic silver, he's built his reputation as a confident, outspoken fighter who doesn't want to work his way up slowly. He wants the big fights now, while he's young, hungry, and dangerous. Most fighters play it safe, build their record against journeymen, and hope for a title shot down the road. Davis is doing the opposite. He's calling out established champions and putting pressure on them to respond. That's either incredibly smart or incredibly stupid, and we're about to find out which.
You set your targets publicly on Devin Haney. #1 welterweight by ring, most estimations right now, champion. Why is that? Why Devin Haney? And you have half the amount of professional fights he has. Do you think that's something, there's enough in it for him when he's...
I was 6-0 fighting people with 30+ fights, bro.
I don't mean it from that. What I mean is
stopping him.
Why is he
stop it? No, I'm playing. I'm playing, bro. Nah, why Devin Haney, bro? Honestly, because he's a star. He's a superstar.
You asking that question. I felt like that's what it was. But go ahead.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, I'm ready to fight anybody. So I'm going for the stars. And I know Devin Haney is the same fighter from when he was at 35. He's the same fighter when he was at 40. Now he's at 40. So he ain't nothing changed. But his weight, you know what I'm saying? I will knock Devin Haney out.
But wait, it gets worse. From Davis's perspective, he's not just another contender looking for a payday. He genuinely believes Haney sees him as dangerous and is therefore avoiding him. And honestly, when you look at the evidence, it's hard to disagree. Think about it, rising contenders say this stuff all the time, but most champions at least acknowledge them or give them some kind of timeline. Haney has been radio silent on Davis while talking about literally every other potential opponent. Champions typically prefer lower risk, higher reward fights, but completely ignoring a legitimate contender. That raises questions about what Haney and his team really think about Davis's chances.
Me and Devin Haney will be it'll be an easy fight for me, bro. Like super easy, bro. Like, and I know I would stop Devin Haney. I've been saying this, bro, before the Ryan fight, bro. He just don't got nothing for me. He got nothing for me. Like, you don't got no power. You got nothing for me to worry about. Like, what are you gonna do to stop me?
Got you.
And what I got coming with, you know what I'm saying? I feel like he don't got nothing to even stop me. His defense is not that good. I feel like I got better defense than him. I know he fought better opponents than me, so you know what I'm saying? So I gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just feel like I got better defense than him.
His resume tough.
Nah, it is.
His resume tough.
But you gotta realize he fought a lot of guys that was smaller than him too, bro. A lot of these guys were smaller than him, and he was saying it in the weigh-ins, you're too small. You know what I mean? So he knew what he was doing, bro. You know what I mean? So everybody got that.
Hold up, did you catch what just happened behind the scenes? Because there's a massive bureaucratic mess that's been flying under the radar. The World Boxing Organization has actually blocked Davis from challenging Haney for the welterweight title, but not for the reasons you think. It's not because he's not good enough or doesn't deserve it. It's because he hasn't filed the proper paperwork to be ranked at 147 pounds. Under WBO rules, you have to be officially ranked in a weight class before you can fight for a title in that division. Davis has been talking about moving up, calling out Haney publicly, building hype on social media, but he hasn't submitted the formal request to enter the welterweight rankings.
As you see right here,
The World Boxing Organization, better known as the WBO, has informed former WBO lightweight world champion, superstar boxer, undefeated Keyshawn the Businessman Davis, who has 14 wins, no loss, no draw, 10 wins by way of knockout, that if he is planning, as he says publicly, to actually face off against first ballot Hall of Famer, 3-division world champion, former undisputed lightweight, former WBC junior welterweight, and reigning WBO welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Devin the Dream Haney at 147 welterweight, they stated Keyshawn Davis needs to inform them and put in the proper paperwork to make that happen, because he did not. And so they stated if he don't submit the paperwork, he will not be fighting Devin Haney. He will not be allowed to fight Devin Haney, not for the WBO title.
Here's the kicker. This paperwork situation might actually be exposing who's serious about making this fight happen and who's just playing politics. If Davis was truly desperate to fight Haney, wouldn't step one be filing the official documents? But here's the other side of it. Maybe Davis and his team know something we don't. Maybe they've tried to submit paperwork and hit roadblocks. Or maybe they're waiting for Haney to commit to the fight before making it official. Because once you move up in weight class, it's harder to go back down. Either way, this bureaucratic mess is giving both fighters an excuse to avoid each other while looking like they want the fight.
People in their ranking system that's ahead of Keyshawn. So if he truly is wanting to fight Devin Haney, then he needs to put the paperwork in to let them know he's officially going to campaign at 147 so that the sanction body can allow Devin Haney to proceed forward. But if Keyshawn Davis does not, and as of today, they stated that, as you see, they're stating that he has not put in a request to go to 147 to fight Devin Haney for the WBO belt, and or to actually leave the division. They stated, as you see here, he is still enrolled at 140, and it looks like to them he's planning another fight at 140. Now, we know all the antics, the promotion that Keyshawn Davis is putting forth as he is, promoting a showdown with Devin Haney. And no need to go into all of that. You guys know what's being done and what's being...
Now here's where the story gets even crazier. There are other contenders ranked ahead of Davis in the current welterweight standings, which means even if he files the paperwork tomorrow, he might have to wait in line. But boxing doesn't always work that way. If there's enough money and fan interest, sanctioning bodies have been known to bend their own rules. The real question is whether Davis filing that paperwork would force Haney's hand or give him another excuse to delay. Records show Davis is still officially enrolled at 140 pounds, and some officials think he might be preparing for another fight in that weight class instead of fully committing to the move up.
Davis keeps savagely calling out Devin the Dream Haney, and I gotta simply ask, bro, what off at? What off at? Devin Haney fans love that A-side, B-side. Well, A-side got to send the offer. Hey, bro, but Devin got a rematch clause with Cambosos. It don't matter. Send the offer and prove that he really got a rematch clause. Say, bro, Devin Haney already announced his fight with Regis Prograis. It don't matter, bro. Send the offer and prove that he really fighting Regis. Well, Devin Haney fans, Devin should be sending Keyshawn Davis an offer, right? Right?
But here's what nobody's talking about. Devin Haney has actually acknowledged Davis as a potential opponent in recent interviews. He's even suggested that Davis is on his list of future fights. But notice the language, future fights, potential opponent, on the list. That's not a commitment. That's political speak for maybe someday if everything else falls through. The actual timing of this fight appears to hinge on a bunch of moving parts that have nothing to do with who deserves what. We're talking about upcoming mandatory defenses, contractual obligations with promoters, broadcast rights negotiations, and overall business strategy that fans never see.
Of course, the performances that Keyshawn Davis has is really more entertaining than the performance that Shakur Stevenson had. We was talking about Shakur Stevenson and tanking the 135-pound division, but as Keyshawn kept emerging, he was already a conversation of Shakur, Keyshawn, and Davis, Keyshawn. Of course, we got Andy Cruz. They're gonna be facing Murataya on the 24th, but look like that fight is not gonna happen. The primary fight for Keyshawn Davis now, in my opinion, is Devin the Dream Haney at 147 because that's his plans. The primary fight for a Devin Haney, in all actuality, should be now a Keyshawn Davis. If Keyshawn Davis is willing to fight you and they call in and Devin Haney and Bill Haney, shout out to Bill Haney, he's done a wonderful job as a manager, is saying that they Debo, well, Keyshawn Davis is Craig and Keyshawn Davis is running towards Debo.
And get this, in professional boxing, major fights rarely come together quickly, even when both sides claim they want it. Negotiations can drag on for months as teams work through purse splits, weight agreements, drug testing protocols, and promotional partnerships. While Davis has been vocal about wanting the fight sooner rather than later, Haney has taken what his team calls a measured approach. That's code for keeping his options open and seeing what better opportunities might come along. The contrast in urgency has fans speculating about who really wants this fight and who's just going through the motions for publicity.
Enough star that he'd be willing to take, because, you know, as a businessman, risk reward. You think you bring enough to the table that he'd want to take the fight? He would take the fight?
Hopefully, bro. I hope he would take the fight. In terms of answering your question, a bright enough star, he's already entertaining me on Twitter and social media and stuff like that. So I guess he sees some money potential in this fight right here. But what I would like to do is I would like to become champion, because that just speaks for itself. Once I come to the champion with the table, you can't play with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody know me. People know me. I can go to the UK and sell. Like, I can go anywhere and sell. My first main event, I sold 10,000 tickets. I sell, period. You know what I'm saying? That's why he's entertaining me, because I am a star. But when I come with that world title, whether I beat Dalton Smith or I go move up a weight and beat Lewis Crocker, once I come with them world titles, it's just a different story.
Yeah, I love the fight.
Here's where it gets absolutely insane. At 147 pounds, the stakes rise dramatically because both the opportunities and risks increase exponentially. Many boxing analysts argue that in today's landscape, championship belts don't carry the same weight they used to. Instead, star power, compelling fighting styles, and fan engagement drive the biggest events and biggest paydays. From a stylistic standpoint, this fight has everything promoters dream about. Davis brings explosive athleticism, elite-level skills, and constant forward pressure that forces opponents into uncomfortable exchanges. Haney showcases sharp technical precision, ring IQ, and the composure of a seasoned champion who's been in big fights before.
Keyshawn Davis, you know, he stops Jermaine Ortiz in the 12th with a body shot, but then calls out Devin Haney. You know, what's your thoughts on that? I was just listening to the Twitch. Actually, you posted up a Twitch of what is it? Aiden Ross.
Aiden Ross, yeah.
He was talking about you. He was like, "Yo, who's that dude from New York?" He was nice with it.
Yeah.
Jaco was like, "Yo, shoot."
Yeah, that was cool. You know, big shout out to Aiden Ross. Hopefully we could.
But in that same live, he said, you know, that the Keyshawn Davis and Haney seems like it's going to be put together. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
That's a really good fight. I do feel like Keyshawn has a great chance at, you know, doing well in that fight. I think that Devin has the experience on his side, but Keyshawn has a lot of tricks up his sleeve, and he's looking strong. He's looking really strong his last few fights. And he made a point, I think, in his post-fight interview, like, a lot of people not giving him credit for his last few wins. Like, he's been stopping guys that's never.
Listen to this part, because this is where Davis might have made a critical mistake. He recently claimed he wouldn't feel pressured by Haney's offense because he doesn't see real knockout power there. Davis insisted he could walk Haney down and control the pace of the fight, basically saying Haney's punches don't hurt enough to keep him off balance. He also suggested that Haney's performances at higher weights haven't proven he can hurt naturally bigger fighters, claiming the extra pounds haven't translated into heavier shots. That's either supreme confidence or dangerous overconfidence, and there's a thin line between the two.
Ortiz is a legit fighter. Legit. And he's never been stopped, and Keyshawn did that. You know what I mean? And looked fresh in the 12th round, too. Like, you know, like, he had total control of that whole fight against a guy that's given Teofimo trouble, Lomachenko trouble, That just shows you the type of level that Keyshawn is on. So
Right.
I don't think that him fighting Devin is a reach whatsoever. Like, that's gonna be a solid fight.
Who you have winning that fight?
I genuinely don't know. I do think that Devin is a naturally bigger guy, but Keyshawn's not that small though. I ain't gonna front. Like, Keyshawn, even though he's going up in weight, he's not that small. I think that's a tough fight. I ain't gonna lie.
Because of that assessment, Davis believes he could push the action without fear and eventually stop Haney. According to Davis, his own aggression and physical strength would be the deciding factors in a fight that might not go the distance. He's maintained that Haney has yet to demonstrate consistent finishing ability at higher divisions, while positioning himself as a fighter who can break opponents down over time. But here's the thing about underestimating opponents in boxing. It's usually the last mistake a fighter makes before getting humbled. Haney might not be a devastating puncher, but he's technically sound, defensively responsible, and has championship experience that Davis simply doesn't have yet.
Everybody above me. You know what I mean? If you're not above me, I ain't worrying about you. If you got one of them belts, I'm on that ass. You know what I mean?
Do you like to hear that? Like hearing more guys at 140 or the big name dudes jump into your division?
Yeah, big name. I thought you was about to say just, I don't want it just anybody just moving up to 47. Ain't gonna do nothing but get crowded, but the bigger names ain't doing nothing but making more opportunity. You know, they gonna be, everybody's scanning each other. And them coming up, they gonna have to be looking for somebody that's above them. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I'm ready to get it on.
In your opinion, who wins that fight if it were to occur?
Out of who?
Devin and Keyshawn.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Keyshawn was saying it like, you know what I mean? He was calling Devin out when he knew he wasn't even ready. You know what I mean? He was calling Devin out when he was 5-0, knowing he wasn't ready. So that season just, it play a part. You know what I mean? But they both been in the game about the same time, man. It's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be a good fight for sure.
Do you think the weight is gonna play a role?
I honestly thought Devin and Shakur would end up fighting first. You know what I mean?
Me too.
I thought they would end up fighting first, but.
Now listen to what Bruce Carrington said about this whole situation, because his perspective might change how you see this fight. Carrington weighed in on Davis's dominant 12th round stoppage of Jermaine Ortiz and the subsequent callout of Haney. He described the potential matchup as a really good fight, noting that while Haney holds the experience advantage, Davis brings a combination of power, technical skill, and adaptability that could make for a compelling contest. But here's what caught everyone's attention. Carrington emphasized that Davis has consistently performed at a high level, including stopping opponents who had never been stopped before. Hold up, did you see what Davis did to Ortiz? Because that performance might have changed everything. Even in the final round, Davis appeared fresh, controlled, and composed, showcasing exceptional stamina, sharp ring IQ, and mental resilience that you can't teach. Haney pointed out that this wasn't just a good performance, it was a statement. Ortiz is a proven and dangerous competitor who has given elite fighters serious problems in the past. For Davis to not just beat him, but stop him in the 12th round while looking like he could go another 12 rounds, that's the kind of performance that makes champions take notice, whether they want to or not. Here's another angle that's been flying under the radar. Tank Smalls shared his perspective on this brewing tension, and he brought up something that puts everything in context. He recalled how Davis was calling out Haney early in his career, even when Davis was just 5-0 professionally. Smalls suggested that Davis might not have been fully prepared at that stage, which shows how much seasoning and experience matter in boxing. But here's the interesting part. Smalls acknowledged that both Haney and Davis have been in the sport around the same time, which makes their eventual clash even more intriguing from a development standpoint. But wait, there's something way bigger happening here that connects to the future of the entire division. Smalls believes this will be a genuinely good fight that fans will want to see, but he also raised questions about whether weight could influence the outcome. He originally thought Haney and Shakur Stevenson would meet first, which would have been a different kind of technical chess match. The fact that Davis is inserting himself into this conversation and potentially jumping ahead of other contenders shows how much confidence he has in his own abilities. Either way, Smalls sees the matchup as inevitable and exciting, which means the pressure on both fighters to make it happen is only going to increase. So there you have it. We've got Stephen A. Smith calling out Haney for ducking fights, Davis willing to move up in weight to force the issue, bureaucratic paperwork drama with the WBO, and a stylistic matchup that could produce fireworks. This isn't just about two fighters wanting to prove who's better. This is about the future of the welterweight division, and whether established champions have an obligation to fight the most dangerous available contenders. The longer Haney waits, the more it looks like he's protecting his record instead of building his legacy. So here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Is Keyshawn Davis truly ready for championship-level competition, or is he rushing his development and setting himself up for a reality check? If this breakdown helped you understand what's really happening behind the scenes, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell because this situation is about to explode and you don't want to miss what happens next. I'll see you in the next one. But hold on, because there's another layer to this story that changes everything. While everyone's been focused on the Davis-Haney drama, there's been some serious behind-the-scenes maneuvering happening with other top contenders that could completely derail this fight before it even gets made. Sources close to both camps are saying that Ryan Garcia's team has been quietly pushing for a Haney rematch. And here's the crazy part. They're offering a bigger purse split than what Davis could bring to the table. We're talking about serious money, the kind that makes business decisions override fan demand every single time. And get this, Tank Davis, Gervonta Davis, has also been mentioned as a potential opponent for Haney, which would be an absolute blockbuster. Think about the numbers that fight would generate. Tank brings a massive social media following, knockout power that sells itself, and the kind of explosive style that creates viral moments. From a promotional standpoint, Tank versus Haney writes itself. Davis calling out Haney is one thing, but when you've got multiple big-name fighters circling the same champion, suddenly Keyshawn Davis doesn't look like the obvious choice anymore. That's the harsh reality of professional boxing. Sometimes the best fighter doesn't get the biggest opportunity. Here's where it gets absolutely wild, and this is something most fans don't realize. Haney's promotional team has been in discussions with several different broadcast networks about his next fight, and each network has different preferences for opponents based on their audience demographics and expected viewership numbers. ESPN might push for one contender, DAZN might prefer another, and Showtime could have completely different ideas. These aren't just boxing decisions, they're corporate media strategies that involve advertising revenue, subscription growth targets, and international broadcasting rights. Keyshawn Davis might be the most deserving contender, but if the networks don't see him as a ratings draw, that fight becomes infinitely harder to make. But here's what's really crazy about this whole situation. Davis has been studying Haney's recent performances obsessively, and according to people close to his training camp, he's identified specific weaknesses that he believes he can exploit. Davis apparently thinks Haney's footwork becomes predictable under pressure, and that his defense isn't as tight when he's moving backward. More importantly, Davis believes Haney has never faced someone with his combination of speed, power, and relentless forward pressure. That's either brilliant fight analysis or dangerous overconfidence, but it shows Davis isn't just talking trash. He's genuinely convinced he has a path to victory. Listen to this part, because it reveals something fascinating about Davis's mindset. He's been telling people in his inner circle that he doesn't just want to beat Haney, he wants to dominate him. We're talking about a young fighter who believes he can not only win, but win convincingly enough to establish himself as the clear top dog at welterweight. That level of confidence is either going to carry him to greatness or set him up for a devastating reality check. Most contenders would be thrilled just to get a title shot. Davis is planning his victory speech before the fight is even made. That's the kind of supreme self-belief that separates future champions from career contenders. Now here's something that's been flying completely under the radar, but it might be the most important factor in this whole situation. Haney's father and trainer, Bill Haney, has been notably quiet about the Davis callout, which is unusual because he's typically very vocal about potential opponents and fight negotiations. Some insiders think Bill Haney sees Davis as a legitimate threat and doesn't want to give him additional publicity by engaging in back-and-forth trash talk. Others believe the silence indicates they're seriously considering the fight and don't want to complicate negotiations with public statements. Either way, Bill Haney's reaction. or lack thereof, might be the biggest tell about how the Haney camp really views Davis as an opponent. But wait, there's another angle that completely changes the narrative. Davis has been working with some of the same trainers and sparring partners who have worked with Haney in the past, which means he's getting inside information about Haney's training methods, fighting tendencies, and potential vulnerabilities. We're talking about a level of strategic preparation that goes way beyond watching fight footage. Davis has been picking the brains of people who know exactly how Haney prepares for fights, what his habits are in the gym, and how he responds to different types of pressure. That's either brilliant tactical preparation or it's going to backfire spectacularly when Haney adjusts his approach specifically for this fight. Here's where the politics of boxing get absolutely insane. The sanctioning bodies, WBO, WBA, IBF, WBC, all have different mandatory challenger requirements and different timelines for when champions have to defend against specific contenders. Haney might be contractually obligated to fight someone else before he can even consider Davis, regardless of what fans want to see. And here's the kicker. Those mandatory challengers might not be nearly as exciting or dangerous as Davis, but champions don't get to choose when those obligations come due. So we could be looking at a situation where Haney has to take a boring mandatory defense before he can pursue the fight that actually makes sense for his career and legacy. And get this, there's been talk about Davis potentially fighting one more tune-up bout before calling out Haney again, which would give him additional leverage in negotiations. His team apparently thinks one more impressive performance against a recognizable name would make the Haney fight impossible to avoid. But here's the risk. What if Davis looks bad in that tune-up fight? What if he gets hurt, or has an off night, or faces someone who exposes weaknesses in his game? In boxing, momentum is everything, and sometimes the best move is to strike while the iron is hot instead of trying to build even more heat. Davis might be overthinking this situation when he should be pushing for the fight right now, while his stock is at its highest point. Now listen to what some former champions have been saying about this situation, because their perspective adds serious weight to Davis's position. Multiple retired fighters have gone on record saying that champions today are too protected, that they're not facing the kind of dangerous, hungry contenders that previous generations had to deal with. They're specifically pointing to the Davis-Haney situation as an example of everything wrong with modern boxing politics. When legends of the sport are saying a champion should take a fight, that creates public pressure that's hard to ignore. Haney's legacy is being questioned by people who built their own legacies by taking on all comers. Here's something absolutely wild that just came to light. Davis has been sparring with fighters who have similar styles to Haney, and according to people who have witnessed those sessions, he's been dominating. We're talking about high-level sparring partners who mimic Haney's movement, defensive tendencies, and ring generalship, and Davis has been consistently getting the better of those exchanges. Now, sparring doesn't always translate to fight night performance, but it shows Davis isn't just talking. He's putting in serious work to prepare for this specific matchup. That level of focused preparation suggests he's not just hoping for the fight, he's expecting it to happen and wants to be ready when it does. But here's where it gets really interesting from a business perspective. Davis's social media following has been growing rapidly, especially since he started calling out Haney. His Instagram engagement rates have increased, his Twitter mentions are trending upward, and boxing media outlets are starting to feature him more prominently. From a promotional standpoint, Davis is building his own brand while simultaneously pressuring Haney to respond. That's smart business mixed with smart boxing politics. Even if the Haney fight doesn't happen immediately, Davis is positioning himself as a must-see fighter who generates buzz and controversy. In today's boxing landscape, that might be more valuable than any individual victory. And here's the part that has everyone in the boxing world talking. Davis recently said in an interview that he's not just coming for Haney's belt, he's coming for his spot as the face of the division. That's not just fight promotion, that's a declaration of war. Davis genuinely believes he can not only beat Haney but replace him as the most marketable, most exciting welterweight in the sport. Most contenders focus on winning the fight. Davis is planning to take over an entire weight class. That level of ambition is either inspiring or delusional, and we won't know which until these two actually get in the ring together and settle this once and for all.